very big meeting happening today. What are you expecting to come out of Netanyahu and President Trump meeting today at the White House?
Well, I think really at the top of this wasn't mentioned by the correspondent there, but I think is even the bigger issue than even the Saudi Arabia issue, and that is what is going to happen with the Palestinian people. Trump made a lot of noise and stirred up a lot of controversy about a week or so ago when he said that he wanted to help maybe clear out all the Palestinians and send them to Egypt or to Jordan, and that raised the ire of quite a number of people and made people very happy. But it's unclear how any of that is going to be accomplished because Egypt and Jordan have been very clear and adamant that they're not going to, in their view, facilitate ethnic cleansing of the area and help Israel out to get rid of those people. But if you don't do that, you can't even get to the point to where Saudi Arabia is saying there has to be a statehood for the Palestinian people if they're still unclear what's going to happen to that population. And my guess is that Netanyahu wants to press Trump harder on that to say, hey, yeah, about what you said, how about let's make that happen? And I'm sure Trump's got plenty of advisors on the other side saying, yeah, we need to back off from that because that's not going to be a really a winning position. I don't think you can actually do it. And so then that leaves us really back into square one, which is where do we go from here?
Right. It's because there certainly are no simple solutions. We know that. We've talked about it at this point for months. All right. So, Lieutenant Colonel, yesterday, President Trump was signing executive orders in the Oval Office. He ended up taking questions from reporters. The president didn't sound overly confident when he was asked about the ceasefire, when he responded about whether or not it will actually hold. Do you think the ceasefire will last?
I certainly hope it does. I mean, gosh, that's what you and I have been talking about, like you said, for months, because the Palestinian people have been the biggest bill payers for all of this unwillingness or inability to reach a settlement. But I mean, when you have the Hamas has clearly weathered this incredible onslaught of firepower for better part of 16 months now, and they were basically had a parade when they released a lot of these hostages already. It seems pretty unlikely to me that they're just going to be willing to go in quietly off into the sunset and not be part of whatever governs Gaza after that. Because they've been so resilient, their improvement in opinion among the Palestinian people has raised, even though higher than it was at the beginning of this war. And yet Netanyahu has categorically said they're not going to be involved there in the Palestinian areas. And you have people on his government say they still want to, after the hostages are released, go back to bombing them and killing them all. So there's some really big issues that are incompatible with each other. And that's why this is going to be a much harder meeting, I think, than some people think for Trump.
It certainly will be a much harder meeting. If this ceasefire does not hold, what do you think the future holds there?
Well, then, gosh, it's just the worst of all outcomes because President Trump apparently has a $1 billion aid package he wants to get through, which is going to continue to provide lots of ammunition and weapons, which Israel would have to have if it's going to go back to war. And look, it would set back the Abraham Accords issue. It would keep the Middle East riled up and continue to have the risk of possible escalation of the war. So all those things are bad for Trump. So I think at some point he's going to have to make a decision, even himself, what's more important to keep the Israeli government happy. And a lot of his supporters, of course, Trump supporters are very much wanting that direction, but he also has competing priorities. And by keeping the one constituency happy, he may be causing problems elsewhere with his region. And he's going to have to make some hard decisions, meaning somebody's going to be unhappy, but he's going to have to do whatever he thinks right. And it remains to be seen which direction he goes.
Yeah, you bring up such a great point there. I mean, somebody is going to have to be unhappy. Lieutenant Colonel, do you believe there is truly a way to stop Hamas from being in control in Gaza? And I ask that based on what we've seen after months of fighting.
I know what everybody would like to be the case, but I think that at some point you just have to deal with the reality that's ugly reality that's in your face. And I don't see any prospect unless you want to go back to war and physically kill all the people in Hamas, and that means you're going to get another 30, 40, 50,000 Palestinians killed in the process. And again, it's going to, you saw, this is 16 months of war. There's no reason to anybody should think that that's going to be solved in another short period of time if they go down that path. And then you're going to have all kinds of competing second, third order negative effects for Israel if they try to go down that path. But then to say the other direction, say, well, then we're going to go ahead and let Hamas remain in charge, then you have an abject admitted failure of the policy. The primary objective of Netanyahu will have been seen to fail, and it's hard for me to see how he's going to accept that. So right now, I don't see any way that this goes forward and gets solved in the near term.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.